Hello, this is Josh Belk with the Belk on Business podcast. Flying solo today. Last couple of weeks, we kind of had more of the interview style format, and today we're back to just me, and going to talk a little bit today about reaching customers. Not going to get into any sort of depth here necessarily on methods of advertising. I'll talk a little bit about that here in the introduction and also at the outtake. But really kind of talking about how do we go about reaching our ideal customer. Who are we trying to reach? I think sometimes business owners go in and their ideal customer is everyone. And when your ideal customer is everyone or anyone, you end up with no customers. So how do we go about determining, who is the customer that we're wanting to reach, and how do we go about reaching them? And I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about that at a high level. A really good book written here in the last, I think, 3 years called Story Brand. Donald Miller, I think, is the author of that book. And he talks a lot about a story in that particular book. And I highly recommend it for any business owner, anybody out there who's trying to reach a particular customer. I think it's a good resource to go and read. And no, I'm not being paid for this advertisement. But I'm going to mention the word story here a little bit. And it was after kind of reading through that, I kind of really did implement it into a little bit into a statement here that if we talk about an elevator pitch, but what I use in my firm kind of as a single line, and I'll give that here as we work through this podcast. I reflect back when I was in college and kind of going through, and this is back in the 90s, and kind of going through college, and I remember having a lady who was a teacher who was actually, I think, a chief marketing officer for Motorola back then. And of course, Motorola really kind of had the leg up in the cell phone market, and of course, it was well before smartphones. And back then it was the StarTAC, the little flip phone. And cell phones were kind of going the opposite direction then as they are now. They were actually getting smaller, and I think the phone could hold 30 phone numbers in it, and that was about the extent of it. And so it was very, according to today's standards, very simple product. But it was one that they saw a lot of success in. I remember in this class, really kind of talking a lot about reaching customers. I remember in the retail space, especially, it was always the three key words in marketing and advertising were location, location, location. That was kind of where the focus was at back then. Think about how people reach their customers. It was TV ads, it was billboards, it was yellow pages. I actually had here in the last week or two someone come into my office wanting to actually sell a spot in the local yellow pages. And I was, of course, very respectful, but I remember kind of walking back into my office and sitting down and thinking, who in the world picks up a yellow pages anymore? I know that I think one comes, it gets put on my front porch every year, and it kind of goes directly into the recycle bin. I don't need the yellow pages. Okay, I basically, if I need to find something, I use this thing, right? And I use a cell phone. I pick it up and if I'm in a certain area, restaurants. If I'm at home and looking for something specific, I just type it into my Google, and into Google or Bing or whatever I happen to use, and or I ask Siri or Alexa, right? And they tell me. So some of these traditional advertising type ways have gone away. Maybe coupons. Coupons was a big thing, and I guess it's used a little bit now, but reaches customers in a little bit different way. Newspaper advertisements, etc. But of course, things have changed dramatically. Of course, now everybody's focused on SEO and SMS and buying lists and social media especially, and finding different ways to reach their customer. And I sit in masterminds. I'm on mastermind calls quite frequently, and it's always these talks about how am I finding my customer. And it's kind of one of those things that I think as a business owner, we need to take a step back sometimes and try to determine what is my messaging and how am I reaching my customer, and is my messaging one that I'm trying to get across, or is my messaging one that that's going to fit my ideal customer. This is assuming I know what my ideal customer is. And I own an accounting firm as well as a couple other businesses, but in the accounting firm, which is my core bread and butter, it's one of those things. We are very, very clear on our avatar. We know exactly who it is that we want to work with. We know exactly who it is that we will either refer away or simply tell them no. Very, very focused on what we do and what we do well, and how we know, and the client that we know that we can bring the most value. If you're outside of that, we're probably not going to bring you the best value. Now, I'll give you a specific illustration on that here in just a moment. But foundationally, in order for a business to succeed in the long term, it has to deliver to the customer what they want. Okay, to either help them tell their story or add value to their story. Okay, so everyone, when they go through and they have an experience shopping, buying, whatever it is, there's an emotion that gets attached to it. And that emotion either helps add to their story or it takes away from how they feel. Nobody wants to do business with someone that they feel less about themselves, or they simply didn't feel like there was value brought to them. So in my accounting firm, and I'll kind of give you what our little blurb is here that we use. But in my accounting firm, what we have as our goal is to be able to serve clients by helping them develop and understand their financial story in a holistic manner. So when someone comes to work with us, our idea is not just to do a tax return, not just to generate financial statements, but to be able to consult with them and help them understand what's going on in their business, and for them to be able to tell the story or understand the story of what's going on in their business. And that story will help bring value or align with their core values and whatever personal story. So to be able to use their business to reach their own personal goals as well. And we have a method and a process that we go about doing that. But our idea is to be able to help that client tell the story of their business through their finances. They go through and they look at a tax return, they look at financial statements, they just look at spreadsheets, they look at this. They many times don't fully understand what is going on in their business. It's just a bunch of numbers. And so we really try to go about helping them tell their story as it relates to in the world of their finances in their business. Think about your customer experience. Walmart. If anyone who knows me, and I've referred to this a number of times in past podcasts, but anyone who knows me, if they know that my least favorite place on the planet to shop, I think, I haven't shopped everywhere, but one of my least favorite, or if not my least favorite place to go, is Walmart. Now, I have to go to Walmart on occasion. My wife, she has a clothing alterations business, and it's kind of one of those things that Walmart is the only place that she can get these ticket books. Okay, so she has to go there to get them. So we end up going there every 6 weeks or so, and we buy out the inventory of their ticket books. But I know when I go into Walmart, I know a couple things. First of all, the place is not going to look all that great. Number two, I know that in all probability when I go and I grab my cart that only 3 of the 4 wheels are going to work. I know that I'm probably going to get frustrated, that the people in there frustrate me. I know there's going to be no customer service. I know when I go to check out that I either have to do it myself or I'm going to wait in line because they only have one register open with an actual person in it. And I know last time we went in there, we bought one of those things with the security things on it, but good luck finding anyone to take it off or open the cabinet to get what you want. Okay, so if you actually get it, then you have to go up to the counter, and you can't do this in a self-service, so you have to wait in the self-service line. And the person that, of course, is working the self-service line is, about the slowest person that's ever worked a cash register. It's just a frustrating experience. So before I even think about, and I hear the words, Josh, we need to go to Walmart, I need to get this, this, and this, immediately my emotions go negative. Okay, it is a bad experience. This is a negative experience. Okay, so what is the only value that they bring is the fact that they sell these particular ticket books that we have to have for our business. That is the only reason we go into that store. I would rather pay twice as much, go someplace else to get the same thing because I don't want to feel that emotion. Okay, and so think about the emotion that you're bringing to that client, because guess what? That's going to help them tell their story. If when I go and I go there and I feel bad about myself, I have a negative experience, this type of thing. Guess what? I'm not going to want to go back there, and I don't go there, and unless I absolutely have to. Now, there's a lot of people out there that love Walmart. They are value shoppers. They don't mind paying less money, and they feel better about themselves because they got a good deal. Okay, but that's not me, a different type of a client. You have to know that when you're going to try to reach your customer, because that is going to be how you're going to go about making your decisions as it relates to how you structure your business, how you go about your customer service, as well as how you're going to your marketing efforts. Okay, so how are you going to reach your customer? Okay, we think of Dunkin' Donuts. Now, I'm a Starbucks guy. I prefer Starbucks, and I'm not on social media a whole lot. Occasionally, when getting these coffee discussions, I kind of enjoy kind of ribbing a little bit at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not a fan of their coffee, really. Their food is just marginal. But when I go into a Dunkin' Donut, once again, I don't have this like good emotional experience when I walk into a Dunkin' Donut. I know I'm going to get a very average cup of coffee. I know I'm going to get very average customer service, and the food is going to be average to below average. It's just an okay experience. Okay, I get coffee because I need the caffeine. I get food because I need food in my stomach. That's it. Okay, I'm not excited about the experience. I'm not happy about the experience. It's just there to serve a very basic need that I have of coffee and food. Okay. Now, in the alternative, I prefer Starbucks. Now, is Starbucks coffee better? I mean, I have a really good friend that actually owns a coffee shop, and he talks about how Starbucks has below grade coffee beans and all this other stuff. Guess what? I don't care. I happen to like the coffee, and even more so, I like the experience. I walk into a Starbucks, and for some reason, and maybe I'm a little bit sick in the head, I just kind of feel a little bit better about myself with a Starbucks coffee cup in my hand than I do with a Dunkin' cup in my hand. One of the best business books I ever read, and for myself, was when I went through and read Howard Schultz's book on how he goes about and how he went about operating his business. I think it's called From the Ground Up or something like that. Phenomenal book, one of my favorite business books I've read in recent years, and I really kind of connected with the way that he ran his business, and I really liked that. And I kind of walk into a Starbucks, and guess what? I have a positive emotion. And you know what? That kind of feeds the story. It's kind of something that, it provides an emotion. They tell their story well. You walk in there, their coffee may be below average. I don't know. To me, it tastes phenomenal. I really like strong, slightly burnt flavored coffee. Okay, just what I happen to prefer, and they provide that for me. And their food offerings, I think, are varied, and I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely better than some of their competition. Okay, so once again, understanding who is your customer, and I don't know if Dunkin' and Starbucks necessarily trying to reach the same customer. Maybe they are. I really don't know. But all I know is a consumer, I have a different experience. So think about this in your business. What is the experience? How is your customer? How are you wanting your customer to feel? Now, this is going to look a lot different if we're in a transactional business versus if you're in a service business. Okay, and if we're in a transactional business, all we care about is just selling that customer something. Walmart, all they care about is just selling you something. They're not as concerned about the customer experience. If they were, they would actually have people in the cash registers. Okay, but they don't value the client experience as high, but they purposefully do that. And right now in this economy, it's difficult finding people. That's probably part of it. But I think also it's just the fact that they don't have to pay as many employees. They can keep the prices low, and that's what the customers are looking for: is low value, lower value good to moderate value good for a low price. Okay, but if we're in a business of really wanting to provide a service that is one that's going to truly bring value to a client, that's going to be based on truly on relationships. Okay, and I think about, as mentioned before, I own an accounting firm. H&R Block is not my competitor, okay, at all. And if you're simply just looking to get your taxes done, okay, and all you want to do is just to get your taxes done, check mark the box, get your compliance piece done, get your refund, whatever the case may be, and just move on. It's like going and getting a haircut to you. Then H&R Block is the place you go. But that's not what we do. Okay, in my accounting firm, I'm not looking for that type of a client. Okay, matter of fact, over the last couple of years, we stopped, for the most part, taking on personal clients altogether. You know why? Because that's a distraction to us. I don't want to compete in that market. That's essentially red ocean for me. Okay, but for us, we kind of understand that, we want to build a relationship with our client. So the ideal client for us is someone who's come in, they're looking for the strategy. They're looking for being able to understand what's going on in their business and in their personal life as it relates to their finances, to their taxes. How do they interact? And how do they go about building their business? How do they go about reaching their definitive goals? And we have those conversations. when you get on tax strategy calls with me or quarterly financial calls with me, one of the questions I'm always going to ask is, what are your goals? Where are we trying to go? Where are we trying to direct this ship? A lodestar is the name of my accounting firm. The idea of kind of this North Star, this compass that we're moving toward. Okay, and the direction that we're trying to go, and that's the customer that we're working for. And I want them to have that experience, to be able to have the experience that someone cares and wants them to help them tell their story. So we build relationships. Now, guess what? We do very, very little traditional advertising, almost zero. Okay, because guess what? Clients like the experience and they refer people to us. And so pretty much everything that comes to us is by referral. Now I go and I speak and I'm in rooms, and of course we get a lot of business that way as well. But most of the business that comes to us that are long-term clients are people that are referred to us. But I'm not transactional. H&R Block has to do a ton of advertising because they rely on those transactions. People just be brand awareness that they're there. This is what they do. You're going to come in, you're going to sit down with them for 20, 30 minutes. You're going to get a folder with a bunch of papers in it. The satisfaction that your returns are done, and you leave, you throw it on a shelf at the house, and you're done. Okay, so there's not the relationship there. So think about your business. A lot of our clients are in real estate. And so when I look at our real estate clients, they have to understand, are they a wholesaler? Are they just simply identifying a property, turning around and selling a property? They don't care about necessarily the value to their customer. They really, it's indifferent to them. They're trying to find a house as cheaply as possible, turn around and sell it, and make a little bit of a spread. Fix and flippers, fix and retail people, they may, the kind of two different categories here. Some truly do care about that end person. Others maybe not as much. They're going to take a house, they're going to fix it up, and they don't care who buys it. Others, they have particular people out there going to go to, and they care about it, especially if they're selling turnkey properties. They care about the person that's buying that property. They want that relationship. They want them to come back and see that they have received something of value, and they're going to possibly return back to them. Their relationship with their lenders, who also is kind of a customer of theirs. They want them to have a particular experience. So as you go about and you make decisions on how you're going about reaching your customer, first of all, understanding who your customer is, and then how do they buy. And that's going to go about, determining whether or not you go through and you're placing an ad on the piece of paper that kind of serves as a mat in a local restaurant, or if you're putting a billboard up, if you're doing TV advertising, if you're putting a sticker on at a gas station, or if you're going through and using social media, understanding how do you go about reaching your customer, where do they sit, how do they buy, but before you ever get there, understanding what is the story of your business, what is the story of your client, and then how do you want them to feel, and then from there, how do you reach them? And of course, there's plenty of market study out there right now that you can go about doing the work as far as how do I reach that particular ideal customer. But if you're having the conversations with your customers, you're going to know, and a lot of times they're going to be able to provide you the feedback if you ask them on why did they buy from you, how did they hear about you, and then when you get that information, then it's going to really help drive any sort of marketing efforts or advertising campaigns that you may end up directing. Hopefully this particular podcast brought you some value. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Belk Business platform. And if you're so inclined, leave us a review. Thank you much. Have a wonderful day.